What is happening, everybody? This is Forrest with the Built on Blue Collar podcast. It's been a pretty long day. We are in the studio doing a re-record with Brady Dominy with Eddie's Backhoe and Dozer service. So we originally recorded this one like months ago.
Yeah.
And life happened. Things got busy. I didn't publish it, which turned out to be a good thing, because it ended up being like a bunch of information that really people didn't really need to hear, I suppose. And life has changed, and we just figured it would be best to re-record this episode. So we've at least been showing off the episode online, the name of it, which is going to be, the title of this one is, why did I go blank?
Last of the Dying Breed.
That's it. Last of a Dying Breed. So we're basically, the topic of this one is just going to be talking about the old timers in the industry and their value, and also the new greenhorns and their value, as well as the bad things as well. So there's a lot of good things that younger people are bringing to the industry, a lot of bad things that we've noticed in the industry, and that's kind of why it's the last of a dying breed, because we look at the older folks in the industry as wiser. We look at them as a wealth of knowledge that's leaving the industry extremely fast, and we need to make sure that we get all that knowledge out to these young folks. Sometimes it's tough to do that, and how do we break that barrier? So Brady is young. We're
27.
We're about the same age. He's a little older than I am. So we're coming at this from a younger person's perspective, I suppose, but with like, I would want to say, an older mindset.
Yeah.
Because we both kind of look at like hard work as like what we grew up doing. It was like, the older way of construction, yelling, screaming, getting things done.
It's definitely changed.
Definitely changed. Even in the few years, I've been in it for running on 12. How long have you been in the oil and gas and construction industry?
Probably 7.
7, yeah. So like, we've been in it for a few
probably
years.
a little longer than that, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not been like, we're not like just jumping in it in the last couple of years, you know. So we have some experience, at least to the point where we know how the older guys have done it in the past, and seen the old style of doing things.
Yeah, it's a lot different from whenever I was 15, 16, 12, whatever you want to say, to 27 now. It's definitely
changed a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
Well, it's funny, too, because we get to see people like we think are super young, which just, it makes us feel old watching these younger guys come in. Because it wasn't too long ago that we were that age, 19, 20, coming in. You know, I got in the industry at age 13. I didn't get paid for it. I just started working. And then
if we're counting those years, then bump my number up.
If you want to talk like field experience, you know, but I mean, my first like official job in construction, like on a commercial site or anything like that, was like 15, 16.
Yeah, I remember being young, and I wasn't getting paid at all to do half the stuff I was doing. It was just more or less get out there and do it, because I didn't have a choice.
I mean, it's your family business.
Yeah. My dad would just get out there, do it, help me out or whatever, and then it wasn't until I was probably, I guess 16 or so, whenever
started getting paid.
Yeah, actually getting paid.
It's just kind of like, you live under this house, you need to help out.
Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't know any different.
Yeah. So a little, we do also have Brian.
Hello. I'm here.
Yeah, Brian is here today.
Still a little jet lag.
So we are all a bit tired. We came straight from LaGuardia Airport, flew back to Dallas, drove up here. So it's been, we were up at 2:30 at the airport by 5. Hey, even earlier actually.
Yeah, it was like 4:30
or something. Yeah, something like that.
Or something between 4:35.
So I went to bed early, or went to bed late. Woke up early, flew 3.5 hours. Spent a whole bunch of time on the taxi runway as they de-iced the plane. Yeah. And then now we drove up here, ate some lunch, and this is about the time where we're all feeling really tired.
Yeah.
So we're doing the podcast a little bit.
Forrest is home, and me and Brian are not.
I know. Well, hey, I told Brian, I said, I can drop you off at your car, head back. Brian's got a 3-hour drive back.
Mine's about an hour and 45.
It's
nuts. That's lucky.
Like, I just feel bad, Brian. You didn't have to stay, you know.
I don't mind at all. I'm totally fine. Especially since I got a little this in me now.
That's right. We did pop the Woodford, so we're sipping on it. Except for Brady, he doesn't want to fall asleep, I suppose.
Yeah. It's all the junk food I've been eating. That's just not gonna.
Yeah, it's been a long day. But anyway, we'll get aside of that. At least you know if we slur or we talk slow that it's not the whiskey. It is just because we're tired. Might be a little bit because of the whiskey. Who knows? So anyway, we're gonna dive into it. Brady, dive into your background. Where I guess you went to school, because I know there's an extensive story from schooling, difference in the profession you went into, and then you ended up coming back to the family business. Go through that entire process.
Yeah, so after high school, I went to, I guess I went to TJC for a little bit, and, did my basics and stuff, and then moved on. That was short. The only thing I liked about that was psychology. That was an interesting course. Yeah, other ones I didn't really care about.
Learning how people work.
Yeah,
mentally.
Yeah, I'd like to dive into some of that, myself too. As far as like continuing that learning or whatever. I think it's pretty interesting. But anyways, so then I went to Pneumonia College, which is over in Carthage, Texas. Went there for petroleum technology, thought school was what I wanted to do and tried it out.
But wait, you went into school for something totally different and then you jumped into...
Yeah, I went...
So
thought I was going to go to nursing school or, and try to do, I don't know, like, I guess being around construction and oil and gas and stuff, my whole, I guess, upbringing, it was kind of one of those deals. I was like,
really don't want to do this.
I'm really going to switch gears.
Well, and did anybody like advise you not to get into it?
My parents had told me, you don't, go do something else.
You don't want no part of
this.
You
don't want a part of this, go do something else. And then I just always kind of had that dumb, young mindset of, I could conquer the world and I was going to be the best medical person or whatever, and then like I was going to make all this money and do all this stuff and change, do something different, and not have to worry about ever working hard, you know what I mean? I just I was, I guess, more or less going to, which not anybody that's nursing, not saying it's not hard. At the time, I thought, that's an easy way, to make a lot of money. I thought, and then I got in there and there's 5 names for one finger, and I was like, nope, not for me. Failed every class pretty much.
I'm not good at memorization as far as like book knowledge. I'm really good at like visually remembering stuff, but when it comes to book knowledge, I've got
to listen to it and do it.
Yeah.
If I read something, as soon as I swap to the next page, it's gone.
Yeah.
I can't read it and remember it unless I'm reading it 100 times over, and I constantly read it once a month after that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel you.
Like books, big audio book guy, obviously, because I drive all the time, and I don't know. I mean, I feel like you can. For me, I dive into it more and I connect more with an audio book or something. So school, I mean, that's where I struggled the most in school was everything was textbooks and, paper. And I'm like, no, this is not going to work for me, So I struggled with that. But
so then you went into petroleum technology.
Yeah, and I did that for a little bit and, liked it, but once again, school. I just really didn't give a crap about school. I didn't go to class but 3 days a week, if that. So I went to make the grades and got pretty far along and, got close to graduating, wasn't too far off, and just kind of said, I'm gonna go do something else. I didn't know what I was gonna do at the time, but so I called my uncle and was like, hey, I need a job. And he's like, well, I guess you can come to South Texas, pretty much in the short scheme of things. But so I went and worked for a big rock mining company down there. Did that for a few years, and when I first got down there, it was new because I was living in San Antonio, and I was, it was something, I never lived away before, so it was new, it was exciting. Once I got down there and realized that I was still a nobody and doing nothing, and I was, not making any money. Everything I was making, I was spending, to live pretty much, and driving, several hours, 3 hours a day round trip to get to and from work and all that. I had bigger goals, and I guess a lot of drive to do more, and I wasn't going anywhere there. And there was just,
it was clear
there was
that
a few people that
no
I just,
training.
I was young probably on a lot of stuff, and just, seen it differently, but I also, I thought I was right at the time and didn't agree with a lot of the people I was working with. And, so it just kind of, didn't work out. I wanted to do more. They wouldn't let me do more type thing. And, maybe I wasn't ready, but I thought I was at the time.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of dives into part of what we'll talk about, which is like young people and expecting like a certain role, right?
Yeah. I mean, I look back on it now, and, some of the jobs I've had, I'm like, I thought I knew everything about what I was doing, and they were telling me things, and now, I see what they're talking about now that I'm running a business,
Yeah, exactly.
Then if I'd have just shut up and listened and did what they said, I would have learned a little bit instead of being young and cocky, and not really cocky, but, I just knew what I wanted to do in life, and, I always was trying to put myself in a position to do better, so therefore, I guess I just got ahead of myself.
Yeah. Well, and that happens a lot. I think, like if you're a young person and listening to the podcast, like take it as like an example learned, right? Like I always think we can learn a lot from the people that screwed up or that did something that they're like, hey, I should have done that differently. If you can express that and learn from that, then that's priceless. So if like you're a young person, you're listening to this and you're in that position where you're like, hey, I've started in this company and I've wanted to do more, but they're just not letting me do more. Like,
yeah, I mean, and there's people that every day that are under the age of 25 that are, moving up quick and fast. But I mean, don't beat yourself up. If you're 20 years old and just not getting into it and all that, just ride it out. Ride the wave and go with it and learn.
But like,
listen,
ask questions.
Yeah, that's the biggest
thing. Ask lots
thing.
of questions. Because like when I think back to like my construction career, I think my favorite times were when I really didn't know crap. I didn't know anything about the industry at all, and I just asked a lot of questions. And those were the times that like I really enjoyed because I was learning every single day.
And if you're in with a good company and you got good mentors inside the company, I mean, you really don't even have to ask. Like,
well,
they can't do their job without. They hired you for a reason.
Yeah.
So they're gonna teach you. They're gonna,
Well, and in reality, they want you to take on more roles to ease their burden, right? Yeah. That's why you're there. So I mean, even the grouchy ones, even the grouchy superintendents, the grouchy leaders in the industry. They'll still at least share. Like, don't ever be afraid to ask a question that you think is stupid, because that's what shows humility. And older guys in the industry really like humility. They're really sick and tired of these young guys coming into the industry with, like, a chip on their shoulder thinking that, oh, well, I'm going to act like I know everything.
Well, that, and you're already got, the world's so different now. Everybody thinks that you're supposed to be the owner or the project manager when yet you haven't even been an operator yet. Yeah. You're on a shovel right now. You haven't even operated a track code, but you want to be the CEO. Like,
Yep.
Well, that was a lot of my problem too, was I just knew, one day that's what I wanted. And I wanted the process and stuff too, but, I wanted the process in like 3 years.
Yeah. Instead of 15.
Yeah. And it just takes, but there's not got my ass kicked and, learned a lot, and, relationships that probably, were burned, and then some that were gained when burning those, and learned from them. And, I think everything happens for a reason.
It does.
I learned from everything that I did at the time, though, because those, had I not left, had I not done the things, I wouldn't be where I was at now.
Well, and think about this. Like, if you've got a guy in your crew now that has those similar characteristics, then
I know how to approach it.
Because
I was that guy.
Yeah. And you can even talk about your experience to that guy, and relate to that. I think, like my dad's era, I feel like they were really good at, like, I'm going to be the best at my career, and I'm not going to ask a lot of questions. I'm just going to hunker down, head down, do my job, and become the best at it.
Yeah.
And I'm comfortable with the paycheck. I'm comfortable supporting our family and that kind of thing. I feel like us younger guys, we just really want to like drive for a purpose.
Yeah.
So it's like it's different. Like we're always driving to do more responsibilities than really what we might even be capable of, you know. But we want to at least learn them. I think that's the thing is we want to learn them, and not a lot of people really give the learning aspect.
Yeah. And two, you know, there's, like I said, everything's changed over the last 10 to 20 years. So, you know, 20 years ago, those guys were just trying to make a paycheck, like you said, provide for your family.
Yeah.
You know, my dad never really tried to, he wasn't building a company to be a big construction company or to, you know, he was simply doing it because
His focus was
he
bills
didn't have
and
any
food.
other way to make money. That's the only
Yeah.
way he knew how to make money. So he was, you know, they were in the plant business for a while.
Yeah.
That didn't work out. Plants went to crap. You know, nobody were paying, you know, the big guys come in gobbling up the small guys and, you know, one or two bad deals. I mean, you're under, you know, you're gone. So then he bought a backhoe and was like, well, I guess I'll go, you know, start building some house pads. I mean, he started out with a backhoe and built house pads, you know, and then that just accumulated. But, you know, he wasn't doing it to build a company to, oh, hey, my sons are going to get this, or, you know, I'm going to build this up to be a, you know, $200 million company and sell it one day. He just did it, you know, and then, but now there's so much at our fingertips that I feel like everybody's missing that, you know, like, hey, they don't have to go through that process because there's so much now that you can just jump to that next step and skip 5 steps in between, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's not.
Which is good and bad.
It is good and bad.
You know, you know, growing a business 20 years ago is nothing like it is now. It's so, you know, I wouldn't say it's easy. It's definitely hard. But think about the resources we have now. 20 years ago, they didn't have Instagram, they didn't have LinkedIn, Facebook, none of that. You know,
Yeah.
They went around knocking on doors and, hey, what can I do? You know.
Yeah.
And I think
Yellow book.
Yeah.
White pages.
Phone book,
Yeah.
pager. You know.
Yeah. Ads in the phone book, man.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's how it was done. That's just the reality of it. I mean, magazines, you know, newspaper, whatever it is. You know, hiring in the newspaper, that section was always a hot list.
Yeah.
Jobs in the newspaper.
So,
right next to the deceased, you know, just.
Yeah. So I did that South Texas deal and just didn't want to do that anymore. Went on, got in the oil and gas industry, which we were, you know, that company. I mean, we were a rock mining company, but we supplied to oil and gas and stuff. So
Like pad material and stuff like that?
Yeah, we were, you know, building pads, roads, stuff of that nature, selling to the highway companies, all that. So then I got in oil and gas, you know, went and did my grunt work on a drilling rig and all that stuff. That was
a messy job.
That was short-lived. Once again, made me realize that was not what I wanted to do. You know?
Did you hang your boots on the post?
No, I did not.
You didn't do that?
No.
Why not? That would have been awesome.
No, I didn't. But they're
you're like, these are $150 boots. I'm keeping these.
Yeah. I didn't have any money at the time. I mean, still, you know, trying to figure out what I'm going to be in life, you know, what I'm going to do, and thinking I know everything, and you know, getting on a drilling rig in West Texas will humble you out though a little bit.
Oh, I suppose. I mean,
especially in the wintertime.
If you want to learn real hard work, you just go over there.
I mean,
if you want to learn real lonely work, go over there.
That's lonely. That's, I mean, that's one of those things you got to be, you got to be ready for it in a mindset, or you just got to be born to do that. I mean, you got to really want to do that to go live with, you know, 12 other guys for 14 days, more than
out
that.
In the desert, dude.
In the desert, middle of nowhere, the closest. When I was out there, there wasn't what there is now, but, you know, we were in the middle of Orla, Texas, and there was a food truck at a 4-way stop. That's it.
Yep.
You know, or you go to Jow, New Mexico, or you go to Pecos, Texas, and get something, which still there's not much out there. So I realized living my life 14 days at a time wasn't what I wanted to do. Yeah. Nothing wrong with, you know, whoever does that. I mean, I made good money. I was just, you know, that was another one of those things. I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
well, you probably looked at the long term and you thought to yourself, I can't see doing this till I'm 60.
No.
So why invest the time in something that you're not going to do?
Well, and I half-assed it too, you know, and I knew it and everybody else knew it. You know, I mean, I got my ass rode and I half-assed my job, and I didn't want to do that the rest of my life, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that would suck.
And I didn't want to be looked at like that either, you know, somebody that just lazy pretty much. Well, it wasn't that I was lazy. I just didn't care about doing it. You know?
It wasn't your niche. It wasn't what you were passionate about.
So,
which is good. I mean, if you're not passionate about what you're doing, there's no point in excelling. I always hated. That's one of the reasons why when I was in construction, I was so adamant about getting into like certain positions, because I'm like, look, if I don't strive for this, or if I don't work in this area of the industry, then I'm not going to go to the end goal. Like the end goal, I want to get to the end goal as fast as I can, as most prepared as I can, you know, and the most experience will get you there. Mm-hmm. So let's experience it from, you know, as early on, you know, to get there.
So
but
did
if you know,
yeah, but you did some other things first too, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I started off as a laborer. I mean, I moved,
but nothing outside of construction. You kind of always.
Yeah. I mean, I dabbled in like other jobs that I needed to like make money, but you know, going through college, like I worked at a gym for a little while. Hated that because it just wasn't. I liked being there, but I didn't like.
Yeah.
I liked the people aspect.
Yeah.
But I just, you know, I always liked construction. So like in high school, freshman out of high school, I did a lot of like drafting and like that kind of stuff. Tried the design. Really didn't like the design portion of it. I really liked the building portion of it, and then moved to Gainesville where I did college, and then ended up jumping in as like a laborer, as like a home remodeling, you know, business, and then went into as a carpenter, and then that business went under, and then I went into another carpenter company that me and a buddy started, and I mean it's his company, but I helped him start it, and did that for a while, and then moved out to Dallas to do general contracting, and then that's when I was like, okay, I can see a career out of this. Like instead of just being like I was like you, like, okay, I looked at being a carpenter and I was like, I can't do this. Like these guys are like on my crew at like age 60. Yeah. And they're like broken. Their bodies are just broken. And I'm like, I don't want to be that when I'm 60. Yeah. You know? I want to be running young guys.
You know, it takes everybody to do it, you know, to get everything done. But
yeah,
it's definitely not one of those things. I guess you just got to kind of find your niche, you know. Yeah. And if you can work smarter, not harder, why not do it, you know?
Yeah. Well, and it's really, you know, like I said, it's really what you're passionate about. Like if you're really not passionate about it, then why are you spending time doing it?
And that's the thing is like, I mean, you got guys that are passionate about carpentry work, which is awesome because I can't build a freaking chair to save my life. I mean, if somebody was like, hey, build me a chair, you know, or my wife wants me to build a chair or something, I'm like, well, you better go buy it because you know, you know, so I mean, it's
go grab the IKEA instructions. Let's go.
Yeah, but I mean, and I think stuff like that's cool. But you know, I would never succeed at it. I would be, you know, I'd be broke on, you know, because I'm not good at it. You know.
Well, and a lot of people aren't good. I mean, I just think like a lot of young guys nowadays realize, okay, I don't have a passion for this. Why am I spending extra time doing it? And why am I spending extra effort doing it if I'm not going to be doing it for long?
Yeah, and I think that's what I wish I would have done straight out of college was kind of, which you don't know until you try some things, but and you look back and you know when you do find that thing, you're like, man, I'm glad that really didn't work out, you know. Yeah. But you know, they ask you, you know, what do you want to, you know, when you're in high school and you're getting ready to graduate, you know, your senior year, and they're like, well, you know, what do you want to do, and you know, what are you planning? And you're like, you have no clue, and it's like, well, shit, I should have been really thinking about that, and I probably would have saved a few years, you know what I mean, of bouncing around, trying out, and, you know, freaking being at a depressing job, and, you know, or, you know, I mean, I can't tell you how depressing it is to drive from Tyler to almost New Mexico, I-20 the entire way. I mean, it's, and hate what you do. Yeah. I mean, you're thinking you have 9 hours to realize you hate what you're doing in a car by yourself on the way to work. Exactly. It's not like driving to the job 30 minutes down the road and going to the office. Like you have 9 hours to think about how bad you hate this. You know?
Well, think about life. I mean, you talk to yourself a lot when you're in the car, man. And, and you really like learn who you are in the car when you're driving a job like that. I mean,
it's some of my best thinking now.
Honestly, no kidding. Like sometimes you wish you had those quiet times to just think, and you don't anymore. The phone is ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. But that's, I mean, I guess what the point with that was, you know, I think a lot of, you know, young guys, if you know, you got to try things, but really sit back and really think, you know, like what, just look at what you're looking at online and what you're doing every day, and people you surround yourself with. There's going to be some connection there. I feel like there's going to be something you do or look or you follow or something that you're passionate about. Go try that first. Don't go try something that's totally off the wall. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, go out and try like a hobby, something that makes you happy.
Yeah.
So like, if it's not construction, don't do construction. Like
No.
I've had this argument with a lot of people. Is like, construction is not for everybody.
We need them, but
we need them,
not
but
for everybody.
It's going to waste time, effort, and manpower and training somebody that doesn't want to do it. So don't come and do it if you don't want to do it. But if you have a passion, if you like it, if you're crazy enough to step your foot into these industries, then you'll be successful at it. Because if you find something that you're happy doing and you hone in and focus on that 150%. You will be successful.
That's like what we were talking about last night. I think it was me and you talking about this last night.
Yeah, we were just
chilling in the room, and we were about, guys used to say, eat, the saying, eat, sleep, breathe, whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah.
Well, I always thought that was just kind of like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, you didn't understand it.
I didn't understand it. Now it's like, I get it.
Yep.
When you're really passionate about something and you're building something and, you're taking initiative and learning and growing, and it's
when it's bigger than yourself.
Whenever your job isn't really a job. Like it doesn't upset me to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, 5, 6, whatever time I get up in the morning.
Or 2:30 like this morning.
Yeah, or 2:30. It doesn't make me mad to get up and go do what I'm doing, and it doesn't. I can get up. I wake up early every morning. I'm up by at the latest 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
But more often than not, I'm usually up about like 4 o'clock.
Yep.
I'd say consistently it's about 4 to 4:30.
Yeah.
Is when I'm getting going. And like I'm hitting the ground running. I'm getting in the shower. Like I can't get out of the house fast enough. I'm ready to do what I'm going to do for the day. Now, I've got 20 million things to do that day, and I'm not going to get them all done. But I'm ready to try to figure out what I can get done and tackle some problems. Versus used to, I mean, you couldn't hardly drag me out of bed. I didn't want to get out, because I didn't want to go do what I was doing.
Because it was for somebody else, and you were not happy about it.
Yeah, and not even that. I mean, I could, something about equipment and the construction industry that just, I like it. I love it.
You left to go to college to try and find something outside the dirt, and you really like the dirt. It makes you happy.
Pretty much.
Well, and that's the thing is like, there's plenty of people out there who.
But I tried it.
You tried it. Hey, it's good that you tried it. I mean, I just look at so many people that have gone out, even in the industry, and just done it like because they had to. They didn't like to do it, and you just kind of look at that and you see, okay, they weren't really all that successful, and if they are successful, they're miserable, right? Yeah. And that's not really what you want to be. You want to be successful and happy,
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I mean, you don't want to. I mean, what's the point of working if you're never going to enjoy it?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's kind of, I look at my dad. He worked his butt off his whole life, and he never enjoyed it. You know what I mean? I mean, the most of a vacation he did was going to the deer lease or going fishing for an evening or something. Like I think I can count on. Well, I think there was 1 or 2 times he actually went on vacation, left around where we were from and lived and actually went and did something, besides going hunting. And the only time he really went hunting was...
He probably did that because the family wanted to.
Well, he did that because it was raining and he couldn't go do nothing. So
might as well take a family trip.
Yeah, well, it was like, it's going to rain for the next 4 days. Probably won't get anything done. It's going to be too wet. Let's go to the deer lease,
There you go.
That's what we did. But... So, I guess after that, I got into sales. After the whole drilling rig experience, got into sales.
In oil and gas.
Oil and gas. Different company. Totally different. I went from drilling to, being a grunt in the drilling side of things to doing sales in the production and completion side. So, knew nothing, still young. Still
trying to learn.
Yeah. And actually the guy, who became a friend of mine, but I met him. He was our mud engineer, and he got me the sales job. Actually, he was like, I know you don't like it out here. I'm gonna help you out. I got a friend, he's got a company. Blah blah. Or his neighbor.
Yeah.
They were friends, neighbors, whatever. So got me the job, and required me to move to West Texas. So. I went from 9 hours of I hate this place, I don't want to be out here doing this, to I'm moving out there, So I did that for 2 years or so with that company. Make it short, went to another company, kind of the same, a little bit different, got into, we were selling with the first company, we were selling like, valves and, stuff like, automation stuff. Then I got into like the trucking side of like waste and disposals and, hydrovacs and stuff like that. Did that for about a year, and sitting on the couch one day and called home and said, I'm done. I'm coming home. I don't care what y'all say. I'm coming home and I'm going to try to work for the business. This is what I want to do, which, when I got into sales is when I really got my education. I kind of learned to shut up, start listening, surround myself with guys who were successful or guys that were building businesses that were learning. I was fortunate enough to be around guys that were big money guys that had made it, so I got to listen to a lot of different perspectives and, sit down with some, rub shoulders with some big, big money guys and learn from them. And then being in sales, I had exposure to, I was all kinds of people, all kinds of contracts. I got the contract side of things. I was flying, going to Houston for meetings and sitting downtown Houston in high rises talking to people that I had no business to be talking to. You know what I mean? Like it was just like, I'm sitting in Chevron's office with these 5 or 6, engineers, who went to school and been in the industry for, 10, 15, 20 years as engineers. And I'm down there trying to sell them, what we're doing. And I'm like, what in the hell am I doing? So stuff, experiences like that I really got to do. And so, I guess I got fed up with living in West Texas, came home. They finally said, okay, whatever, come home. I think we were 3 or 4 employees at the time. My dad it was my dad and like 2 or 3 other guys.
Yeah.
3.
So it still wasn't really all that big.
No, it was a small company, still a small company, but way smaller than what we were.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, whatever, come on. So I packed my crap up and come home, and I remember having the conversation with my dad. I was like, look, I've learned some things. Don't really know, too much about. I'm not the smartest guy when it comes to, wasn't at the time, still not, but I wasn't the smartest guy on everything in the dirt world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I learned the business side, and he had a group of guys that understood dirt, So when I come back, I was like, look, I'm going to help. You just keep doing your thing. I'm going to learn from you, and I'm going to help grow the business. Like, I understand numbers now. I understand implementation, softwares, stuff like that. So here he is with his big chief tablet, and he's got his desk that he's always had for years with a, you pull a drawer out and there's pagers and notepads in there. You know what I mean? Still to the, and so everything's just on paper. Everything's on, was pagers and, hardly no computers being used, So I was like, look, we're going to, I want to come in here. I want to bring software. I want to bring, computers, technology. How do we do this better? How do we get more efficient? I was like, because I want to grow the business. I want something that I
built.
Yeah, I want to help you build something that one day you can step aside and say, I want to see you relax, and then I want to struggle.
Yeah.
I want the struggle. And so, in a short period of time, I just followed him, followed the guys that were working for him and stuff, and I just
immerse yourself in it.
I drowned in myself and learning the dirt side, because I did, and there's still a lot of things I'm learning. But for the jobs that we're doing right now, we're golden. You know what I mean? I learned a lot in a short period of time, and then taking that with the business side of stuff that I know, as far as getting hey, we're doing this much now. We added another person, and then we added another person. We got some more equipment. Now we're up to 12 people. So it went from 3 to 12 in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I think we probably got
next year. You'll have at least 24.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah,
that'd be nice. So, anyways, it's a big transition. He's telling me, hey, look, I don't care what you do. Beyond me and these 2 other guys here, 3 other guys, I don't care what you do. I'm fine where I'm at. I'm content. I've built this business over the last 20 years, and like I said, he didn't build it to be a multi-million-dollar company, $100 million, $200 million company. He's doing, very well for himself and the family and everything. And so I said, well, I want to take it and go run with it. And he said, okay, well, it's all on you.
Yeah.
So off to the races we go.
Yeah.
And I start, he's big into building house pads and, lakes. That was his biggest thing, was lakes and ponds. He loved building big lakes and ponds and stuff. House pads, some some subdivision work, and we did some smaller commercial jobs. Just really anything that came in the door that made money, he would do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes, even if it didn't make money, he did it. I mean, he
just do it. Yeah.
Yeah, he helped a lot of people out and just did stuff for free half the time, and the other time he made some money,
Yeah, hell yeah.
And loved what he did. So we get rocking and rolling on all this. We're getting different things implemented into the business to kind of help us grow people. We're getting some different kind of, softwares and stuff. And, reaching out to general contractors. We're actually, we're out there getting our name, like, hey, we can do these jobs. We've been doing it. We want your work. How do we gain it?
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so we start doing that, and we start growing. We start adding people and all this. And then fast forward to a few months back, he, COVID hits and all this. Well, then he comes down with COVID.
Yeah.
We at the time didn't think about it. No big deal. I've seen the guy sick enough 2 times my entire life that it kept him in bed, and he didn't go to work. So whatever, we're business as usual, rocking and rolling. Well, 2 weeks, 3 weeks go by, he's still sick. And I'm kind of like, oh, shit, My mom's like, oh, shit. Everybody else is like, oh, shit,
Yeah.
Then we go by another couple of weeks, and he's not getting any better. And so COVID turns into pneumonia. Pneumonia, he had it whenever he was younger, almost killed him then.
Yeah.
Gets it again. We pretty much sat down with the business and was kind of like, hey, look, what do we need to do here? Talking with my mom and stuff, because at the time, my mom and him had ran it for 20-something years, and I've been running it for the last, at the time it was, last, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years now. So, or help running it. So the goal was to always, like I said, let them set back and enjoy what they built and me run it, but it wasn't in the plans to do it this fast. You know what I mean? So
you still expected a bunch more years to learn from your dad.
Yeah, I mean, there was so then we sit down and talk about what ifs. What if he passes away and all this? Well, the day count. Doctors called us in. His heart's failing. His lungs are shot. He's the only thing keeping him alive is a ventilator, a breathing machine, and all that stuff. And so. We ended up saying our goodbyes. He passes away, and which is still all pretty new. I mean, this is 2 months ago.
Yeah.
I mean, so now we're now everything's now the time's come to kind of put your big boy pants on and
saddle up.
Let me tell you, trying to fill somebody's shoes that's been in it for the last 20 years is not the easiest job. Yeah. He had his customers. Yes, I have my own customers. Because at the time, he was running half the projects. I was running half the projects. If I couldn't make it to the field, he was already in the field at 4 o'clock that morning.
Yeah.
He got, he looked at half the jobs. I mean, we're looking at, I may go look at 4 or 5 jobs a day, and he was doing the same, if not more.
Yeah.
Well, now, I'm doing it all. So I took on his role, my role, and, trying to still get everybody what they want and how he did it. But like we're talking about, and I'm going somewhere with this, is he had his way of doing things, and they were not wrong, but they were old school.
Yep.
And I had my way of doing things, and no one noticed, and no one seen me as much when he was alive because he was in the field so much and taking care of it, that no one seen me, but I was still in the background in the office on the computer, implementing these things and costing these things and actually nailing down a lot of things that, he may go do a job and just, do it by the hourly rates. Hey, this is what we can charge for, an hour for this Backhoe per hour. This is what we can charge per hour on this Dozer. And he would just spitball it to people. Oh, we'll do this job for this much.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. I mean, he made money on it, but we didn't know our cost. And so those were the kind of things. Well, now the thing I'm going through and the struggle I'm going through is trying to hold his legacy, trying to do everything the way he was doing it, but nail down profitability, cost, things that are going to make our life easier to continue. And because those things were fine at 3 employees, they're not fine when you get to 12 employees. You got to start knowing your cost. You got to start, when you're growing and scaling and you're handling, the income and stuff that we have, you kind of got to know where things are going.
Things tend to rapidly speed up.
Yeah, and we've seen it fast. Like I said, it's only been less than 2 years, and we went from 3 to 12.
Yep.
In a new office and, more equipment and 10 pieces of iron on the ground. More than that, really, if you want to count all the little knick-knack, little pieces of equipment. But, you got to really know costs, shop around, stuff like that. What are you spending on maintenance? What do you know? Well,
but that's the thing is, like, he had this wealth of knowledge. Right. And now it's just like all of a sudden, boom. Yeah.
So, trying to do, like I said, trying to do that, do his job. And there's just, you're trying to do a lot and it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. And then, at the time I was, just thought he ran around and, didn't do, not that he didn't do nothing, but I was just like, well, heck, all you did is run around and go look at jobs all day, and I'm like, I did that too, and then, now I'm like.
Until you've got it all on your shoulders.
Then it's all on my shoulders. I'm like, dadgum, he did do a lot,
Honestly, yeah.
But you just don't,
But that gives you like a good respect that you're like, man, I never seen this before.
Well, I knew he was doing a lot. Obviously he built a business, he
But then it's like a new perspective.
He did good, and that's the thing. Like he would go do a job and, he would do more than what he said he was going to do and never change the prices and stuff. He would just do it, And I'm not saying that we don't do that now. Like if I say I'm going to do something and I give a price and all that stuff, then we try to hold true to what we're doing,
Yeah.
But I do look at cost now, and I do a lot of things that he didn't do. So it's been different to gain those customers and those people's respect whenever they just, oh, your dad, he came out here and did it for this, and he just spitballed it. And I'm like, well, I want to go back and run numbers on this. You know what I mean? I don't want to go do a $50,000, $100,000 job and just spitball it out to you. I want to know what I got in it, or $20,000. I don't care if it's $5,000.
Yep.
I don't want to just go do it. I want to know what I'm going to have in it. Are we making money? Maybe we don't make a lot of money, but at least I know going into it, hey, let's knock this thing out, help this guy or girl out, whoever it is, and let's, get it done. Let's go to the next one,
Yep.
So, doing a lot of things different. It's just, but that's where it's going. And that's what I was, taking and wanted him to see too was, we'll get gobbled up by these people that are, running all these softwares,
Yeah.
when you get to a certain point of, you can play with people at 3 and 4 employees and not have to have all this stuff. When you start getting, when you're running 12 employees, moving the iron and the jobs that we're doing, you're subbing out anywhere from 5 to 15, 20 trucks to haul your materials. You got materials coming in from, we bring ours in from up here in Dallas, on rock and stuff, because we don't have rock there, we've got dirt pits that we're pulling our dirt from, we got 4 or 5 crews running. I mean, that's whenever things start getting like, okay, structure's got to come.
Well, and that's it, is like, your dad's way of doing things was just that.
And he had, he did, he did it over 20 years and learned and made the mistakes and stuff. And, now, it's like, it's kind of just, you're just trying to figure out you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was your resource.
He was
your encyclopedia. Yeah. If you were like, hey, I've ran into this situation.
Yeah.
He most likely had ran into that situation.
Yeah.
And he could probably give advice. And now it's just like, okay, now I've got to do the exact same thing.
I got to figure it out. I'm talking with the guys, we're figuring it all out together, which luckily I have same guys. We're doing the same quality work, same jobs. We're still rocking and rolling. We're doing more. So luckily, and those guys had been with him for a while. So
yeah.
I still have him in a way, but it's just you don't have him, you know what I mean?
The knowledge through his people.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have him to sit there and bounce these ideas off anymore like you thought you were going to get to for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Which
kind of leads us into the next point, which is like when we look at
because I was always, I wanted to see his perspective.
Yeah.
And then put my perspective, and let's bring it together and see how we, grow this into, and keep going, and let him do the field, me do the office business side of things, and we were going to go on, which when he was still here, I mean, he was one of those guys. He knew how to do prints and all that. I didn't know how to do prints. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done prints in the past, but I never dug into them. Well, he was like, well, I don't know how to explain it to you. I mean, I just know how to do them. So you need to figure it out. So I just put it into me. I mean, I just sat there. I mean, I downloaded different softwares, programs, and just didn't even know what the heck I was doing. And I just played with it for probably about a month straight. And then we both bid a job, and we were spot ass on with each other.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So he was getting same quantities as me.
Same mentality then. I mean,
same quantities and stuff. We weren't the same on pricing.
Yeah.
Like I said, I went through cost. He was doing it a little. I mean, he went through cost too, but in a different way and not to the extent.
Yeah. Yours was more precise probably, but his was more rounded.
Yeah. Like he wouldn't calculate. Like if we were.
Like if you were at 56, he was probably at like 6 or 5.
Yeah. He would just, a lot of things he would not, like if it was something small, he wouldn't input it. And I'm like, well, maybe we don't charge for it, but we still got to know that that's our cost. If we're sending
what's going out the door?
If we're sending out a guy for 2 days to go saw cut, I mean, maybe you may not charge the full 2 days for him being out there saw cutting, but you need to know that you're paying that guy for 2 days,
Well, absolutely.
And that was just, so we were, a little off on that, but, I was like, all right, I got this now. I got this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I just kept doing stuff like that. And then just, he would send me to go look at a job, and I'd be like, I've never went out and looked at that before. I've never had any experience with that. He'd just be like, go do it. Tell me what you come up with.
Yeah.
After about 2 times of that and him correcting me, I figured it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What he's looking at.
Yeah, exactly. But it's hard to get 20 plus years of experience soaked up in a sponge over 2 years, though. That's kind of hard.
So what is and this will kind of lead into our podcast topic, but what's the most difficult, I guess, thing switching into the position of owning a company? What's the most challenging for you right now?
Mine's probably a little different than most people's because, like I said, we're not a new company. We're we're an old company going new ways, and it's a little alarming to the people that have been using us.
Yeah.
And they're not used to dealing with me.
Yeah.
So now I've got to gain that respect and that trust. And
so is that the hardest, like,
I would say that, and I have a great group of guys who would bend over backwards for me or my mom or my brother or whoever, and, you know, within our family to, you know, help us keep this thing going. But I would say that, and then learning how to manage those guys efficiently.
Yeah.
Like, how do I say this? I guess just more or less the same transition as I am with customers. They've been used to my dad, not me.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, when my dad was here, they answered to him. I might have said something, but it got overruled. Or I might have said something and it got kicked around back and forth for a little while, and then we came to an agreement. But I can talk to the guys. I can do, you know, they respect me. And I don't never sit here and try to say, hey, like, I'm the boss, you're going to do it. No, I just go, I say, hey, look, here's all the information. Here's the numbers. Here's the scope. This is what we need to get done. This, you know, the whole 9 yards from the front to the end. And you know, so we take that, but I always go about it as we, never like I'm gonna go bid this project.
Because
y'all need to go do this. I'm always like, you know, what do we need to get done? What do we need? You know, that, and so that's hard. And like I said, the customer base that's already there, because I have a different way of doing it and they're not used to it. And not saying I'm always right or, you know, or whatever.
They're not dealing with your dad anymore, man.
Well, and I'm not saying, you know, I'm not saying that I don't like to help out people and do, you know, I want to do quality work, but if my numbers don't make sense, there's no point in me doing it.
Look, you can't run a business unless you're making money.
Correct.
It's not, you will fail. Your customers won't even have you anymore. So,
exactly.
like, this is the thing is, like,
so, you know, and we're not the cheapest. Yeah. I pay my guys well. You know, I offer my guys more things than, you know, and we're in that weird stage of we're 12 employees, so we can still go play with the 3 employee people, and we can go play with the people that have 30 employees.
Yeah, yeah.
I may have to send every single guy to that job to get it done, but I can go do it.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so that's where we're in that weird stage of like, and we, you know, we've done our research on other companies. We do pay better.
Yeah.
So we offer more than they do, you know. And so, you know, that's another thing is when I start nailing down cost and I know what we got in it, and then I'm higher, you know, people are kind of like, well, you know, I mean, we can get it done for this. I'm like, well, then you need to get it done because, or, hey, maybe, you know, like we were talking about last night, you know, I had a guy, didn't really like my price. I went back. Seen when I can tighten it up a little bit. Hey, look, here's the best I can do.
Yep.
I go down, you know, going down $1,000, but that's all I can do. You know, small job. I want to help you. We've been working for you for a long time. I want to keep working for you.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I got to make money.
Yeah.
My guys don't live off of love. Neither do I.
Well, and here's the thing. Look, whether they want to admit it or not as customers, like, inflation's happened.
Yeah.
Like, since 20 years ago. I mean, everything.
Not to mention in the last 12 months, it's inflated.
Material, fuel,
ridiculously.
I mean, equipment, everything is 100% different than 2 months ago.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing is, like, I guess educating the client or educating, you know, the customer on that is important. But, you know, if you've done a dirt pad for X amount and you add $2,000 on there, there's a reason. It's not like you're trying to like rip them off. Mm-hmm. There's a cost to everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you guys are getting to the point where you're moving from small commercial and residential projects to you're digging into some medium-sized, large-sized commercial.
Yeah.
You're going to start getting into that.
And subdivision work and stuff. You know, we're trying to change it up. We're trying to get out of the onesie, twosies. We still want to be able to take care of everybody locally and do, you know, somebody calls up and says we need a house. But my goal would be to have a crew that does the small stuff still, but we're going to dive into a different we are diving into a different, you know, larger.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess
You,
to say.
you guys are going into larger jobs.
We're going up a
overall.
little larger. We'll probably have a crew that still takes care of all the.
Well, so let's dive in. Let's dive into the topic. So with this, I know you've tried to hire a few people, right?
Yeah.
You've tried to hire a few people. What's the
Went through a lot of them.
Yeah. So what's the major? This is kind of what's getting into our topic is because what's the major difference between seeing your dad's kind of character and how he worked and the guys that work with you now versus the guys that you've tried to hire and haven't worked out? Like what's that last of a dying breed mentality that's not there?
I mean, his way of hiring was, hey, he needed somebody else to fill a seat. He called around. Somebody came and said, hey, heard you're hiring. And I think people probably wish they would have got me every time they tried to hire with him because he was he was rough. I mean,
Yeah.
if you could go sit on a dozer for an hour, 2 hours, or half a day if you were lucky, and if he didn't like your style, you were gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But hats off to him because I got the team that he had. You know what I mean? I got the team that I don't have. Now I have a team that he was around for the most part up except for about 3 guys.
Yeah.
3 guys that are now with us that weren't whenever he was here. But I watched him go through guys just because it was his way or no way. And there's plenty of things he didn't know in life, but a damn Dozer and a Backhoe, the guy knew what he was doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and could back it up every time if anybody called him out.
Yep.
So
yeah. That was his expertise.
Yes, that's.
He lived, breathed, and slept that.
He was equipment and dirt. That's what I'm saying. He didn't care to be a big business. He loved doing what he was doing, and he wanted, if anybody was working for him, to do it right.
Yeah.
He did. That was the word. I think that was one of the best things about him. Like if he went out and did a job, or he wouldn't leave till it was right, and the guys would not leave until it was right because he wasn't allowing it. And if they did leave and it wasn't right, they were going back. You know what I mean? And they would go back 10 times over, and he would never charge another cent.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people loved about him.
His
And
name.
because he was always there, he was there when he said he was going to be there, and he did quality work, And so, but back to what you were saying is the guys, it goes with it. He built a set of guys, and now I have them for the most part. But when he was still here, we were looking for some more guys, couldn't really find them, and then he, got sick and stuff. But I don't, man, I went through. I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you why these guys never showed back up. We offered them a job, and they were looking for a job. We were looking to hire, and I had people driving from all over, and it was almost like they just, at the time, it was COVID, it was unemployment, and it was, there was some older guys, and I was making it known that I was going somewhere with this, and I wasn't, some people didn't want to, some people just want to work for the mom and pop, they don't want to go where I'm trying to go. So I think that was a little bit of it. I think it was a little bit of people getting some unemployment checks and just needed to fill out an application.
Yep.
Exactly. COVID and all that stuff. So, we went through, man, I don't even remember. How many was it? Like, what did I tell you, like 10?
At least. Maybe 15.
And we were offering them top dollar. We needed them. We had projects ready to go.
Okay, how many of those were, middle-aged, younger guys than your dad or younger?
Most of them were younger. Well, middle-aged guys.
30s, 40s?
30s, mid-30s,
So you think, okay.
He was in his 50s, I'm 27, so.
Yeah.
I wanted a younger.
So, okay,
crowd.
so then what are some characteristics when you look operator or anybody that comes onto your company, what are some characteristics that you guys value?
Right now, with the way that we run, I would say some of the things that we look at is, are you able to go do a job without me breathing down your neck or someone else? You know, are you able to go out and do a job correctly, start it, finish it, and not have to have another guy come in behind you all the time? And that's hard to find.
So just like, in other words, like listen to instructions.
Yeah, I mean, taking instructions and not, you know, knowing what you're doing. And if you don't know what you're doing, asking. And, you know, some people, I have guys that are finished dozer guys. Well, you bring a guy in that says he can, and he really can't, and you send another guy behind him to go fix it.
Well, this is a big part of what we're talking about. So Last of a Dying Breed, when you look at like Dozer, GPS, and that kind of thing, like right now, y'all don't run GPS. And it's not that you don't want to run GPS, it's that really the size of jobs you guys are doing, you don't need size it for the cost.
And, you know, a lot of stuff is, you know, a lot of the jobs are, you know, our bigger jobs are still not, I mean, our larger projects are our big land development and our big lakes, you know. But these are local ranchers and stuff like that. Like, we know what needs to be done. So therefore, there's just not a, you know, we've looked into GPS. I just had a GPS machine for a week, about 2 weeks ago. And it's just for the money and what we do, it's just not worth it. So therefore, we rely on guys that do know what they, you know, are doing. Yeah. You know, because we don't have all these GPS machines and we don't build all these models and stuff like that. I mean,
but like you want guys on your team that have the skills to do it, finished dozer with no GPS, but can also use GPS when you guys implement it.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with it. You know, we get a project and, you know, they got all these CAD files for it and say, hey, you know, they're going to let us, you know, GPS machines cost more. We're going to bid it to run GPS. We think we can get it done a lot faster with it. Hey, you know, we're going to, you know, I want guys to know it, you know. I'm not saying, you know, it may not be something we run on a weekly basis, but we will run it, and eventually we will get to the point to where we do run it. But I think you're going to get a better operator if the guy understands first without it.
Yeah.
You know, and let's be honest, that's the reason GPS is GPS, because
there's not enough people that know how to do it.
There's not enough people that know how to do it. Yeah. And that's why people run GPS.
If more people could learn how to do it, then we wouldn't have the need.
If you got a guy that knows how to put the blade up and down and, you know, follow the GPS and put it forward, backwards, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, he doesn't have to touch it.
Well, like, for instance, we were out in, Brian was out there with me.
And then what happens whenever the model messes up? I mean, the guy's got to know what to do.
Well, like, this is what I'm getting at. Like, Brian and I, we were out with Wilco last month, and we were trying to, I was running I think they had bought a brand new 61, Komatsu 61.
Yeah, those are sweet.
They're freak.
Hydrostatic.
Oh, man, that thing was smooth running.
Yeah,
so he showed me like, just, I don't remember what it's called. I'm not an equipment guy, but like you just click the button and it pushes forward and all hands off. You could just
so what you do is you put it forward on those GPS Komatsus. You put it in forward. You bump the blade down. And you don't touch it again.
Which was weird because like in some cases like it was trying to push a lot of dirt because it was so low. Like I had to go so low, not to adjust it a little bit because it just couldn't push that much dirt. But like in some areas like like trucks were rolling in with like base material, and they would dump the base material, and I'd just put it in forward and roll right over it, and leveled it out perfectly.
Yeah, but that's what I'm getting at too. Is that guy still has to know when that thing's under pressure, under load. You've got to know to pick that blade up and go. You know,
that should be pretty obvious.
Yeah, no, but you know,
but here, here's
a simple example, I guess. You still got to have some sense of what you're doing. Those GPS machines are for when you get it all ready to start final grading. That's when they really come in clutch. Whenever you need it, you know. You know, tents and stuff. You know,
because most operators should be able to eyeball it a little bit and then be like, all right, now let's switch the GPS in, let's activate it and book.
That's where I think that comes in the best and you know, for us, as we're scaling, and that's where GPS is going to come in, is it's going to get harder and harder to find finished guys. Well, and we're going to have to find guys that understand operating and have equipment sense,
Maybe they can't final grade, but that's all right. We'll have a GPS machine on site. We'll get it final graded. I don't have to pull someone from 50 miles away, 20 miles away to come over there and finish it.
So I mean, the way I see it is you're running into an issue where it's a labor age gap. You've got the old guys, your dad's age,
and there's even old guys that don't.
I mean,
it's
know. True, but like I mean, when you look at it, like,
but they know how to run equipment. They may not be the best, but
yeah. But I mean, like overall, like you think, okay, guys like my dad's age knew how to run it, could do finish dozer, could do all that stuff. And guys that are so young, there's been like this gap for so many years that they haven't been taught anything from those old guys.
Yeah. And not even that, but like we're going into a whole nother generation. I mean, there's a big portion of the generation that's getting out right now.
Wait. What about doing construction in the metaverse? What do you think, Brian? Construction in the metaverse?
Oh, Mark Zuckerberg would be proud.
Well, he's the last one I want to be proud of.
Let's go build him a ping pong table.
I thought you were going to say, let's go Brandon for a second. I was going to be really proud. Let's go. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just kidding around, but like, yeah, I mean.
But yeah, there's
just a mentality that's not there anymore.
There's a whole, like saying, there's a whole generation getting out, and there's a new generation coming in.
Well, and that's the thing is the generation getting out hasn't taught the guys that you're trying to hire.
And maybe the guys that I'm trying to hire have never even been around. You know, I mean, they've been around it, but like you said, they've never been taught. They've never. I mean,
it's dying off, man. The trades are dying off in their original form.
Well, but here's the thing: is why we look at it that way. But you've also got to sit back and look at it. Why? I mean, you can't really be mad at these people coming up either. I mean, if equipment companies are figuring out how to do it a lot faster, a lot more efficient, without, think about how many guys go out there without GPS and double their workload. If they had GPS, and maybe some of our jobs, I could probably be a lot more
efficient.
I could probably be a lot cheaper on some jobs.
Well, because you'd be doing it in half the time. But until you get to that point of where you run it consistently, when you're paying double the price for GPS machines, it's got to, you got to find that fine line of where it makes sense. And very soon it's going to make sense. Bigger jobs, people problem, After this podcast, you're going to have everybody from Site Tech and Trimble and TopCon, they're all going to be reaching out to you, even though we only have 2 people listening to this podcast.
2? Well, me and Brian.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I'm joking, but I mean, they're going to be like, oh, these guys are about to implement it in a brand new company. We might be the first ones in. Let's go.
Yeah, and honestly, not trying to give anybody a shout out, but TopCon is what we ran a couple weeks ago.
Oh, really?
And I liked it.
Sponsored by TopCon.
Yeah.
TopCon.
Let's go ahead and
I'm just kidding.
Sponsor me real quick. Yeah.
It's okay. You guys can share this all over the place, TopCon.
Yeah, we'll take.
I'm okay with that. Last time
we'll take one whole system.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, we'll keep talking TopCon if you give them something free.
Yeah.
That's the sponsor.
We'll have a second podcast for that.
There you go. Well, remember the first one we tried to get Shinerbach to sponsor us because we were drinking Shinerbach?
Yeah.
We canceled that one, though. Yeah. We were like, maybe if Shinerbach listens to the podcast, then they'll give us a case while we're drinking, and sitting at the podcast.
Yeah.
Psych, I didn't launch that episode.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll be like Joe Rogan for long.
Yeah, right.
20 minutes of shouting out sponsors. I'm like, fast forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah, honestly, come on. I just want to hear the meat of the material. I don't know.
Yeah. So,
I mean, we talk a bunch of shenanigans too, but
to the whole point of, I guess, the podcast, there's the dying breed, it's going out. But I think it's a good and bad thing.
Yeah.
I don't,
It's hard to handle right now, but at some time we're going to learn how to handle it through technology and through the biggest issue that I see is just losing the information from the older guys, the veterans in the industry. That's my biggest thing. It's like, okay, nobody's recording their experiences. They're not telling their experiences to any of these younger guys anymore, and we're losing that. So that's the last kind of experience in that era that we're going to learn about, and they're going to be gone in 2 to 5 years.
And unless you can find their notebooks that the rats haven't chewed up, you're screwed.
Well, and even then, who's going to read their handwriting, man? I mean, be real.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I can't read my own handwriting.
That's
you know?
another big thing that we're implementing is, data.
Yeah.
Lots.
Well, and you and I have talked about that over the last 2 days.
Lots
is
and lots of data.
structuring
Like
data.
we want to record every move we make.
Yeah.
Every move.
Well, and we talked about this in the first time we recorded this podcast. Is like your guys may look at that as like, oh, you're breathing down my neck, you're on my shoulders, like get off my back, monkey.
Yeah.
But in reality, what you're trying to do is you're trying to account for every cost so that you can give them a better wage. You can
And
make more money.
That's the conversation.
Have they gotten that since the last time we talked? Have they gotten that?
Yeah, I've had to have that conversation, and I think they understand now for the most part. It's not. No one likes change. Everybody's, gosh, we come to work here because it's laid back. We can wear our Crocs and we can, wear shorts and sit in the Dozer all day and just operate. We ain't got to put hard hats on.
We're not on a commercial site today.
Yeah.
We might as well just head over.
Yeah. So and
Betty's house down the road. And
whenever you go and say, hey, we're gonna put all this, we're wanting to scale the business and we're wanting to implement all this stuff. I'm like, well, why do you need to know all that? And it's like, well.
Yeah.
And really, it wasn't a big squall as bad as I thought it was going to be. It was, as normal, they're kind of skeptical about it.
because
they just,
they're not sure what the intention is.
Well, and the intention, and that's what I tried to make very clear, and I think I did pretty good, and I think they, like I said, they understand.
If they're listening to this, which they all should listen to this.
Yeah, we'll get them. We'll get them to subscribe.
Yeah, there you go.
But
12 new subscribers.
12 new. I don't know. You might not get my mom. I don't know.
Triple it.
She may not. She may not care to listen about dirt, but
hey,
well, at least get her to
there's
subscribe.
More than get her. Yeah,
she'll listen just for me.
There you go. She should.
Yeah.
Realize how smart her son is now.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. She tells me I am sometimes, and then sometimes she says,
"You're an idiot.
You're an idiot.
Why'd you do that?
What are you doing that for?"
Yeah.
You just need to calm down.
Well,
relax.
hey, man, she's a wealth of material as well, man. She's got a lot of experience by listening. She's probably listened to your dad's problems all her life.
Yeah. Problems is, complaints.
Yeah, about the business and everything like that.
What he did right. And, he would always joke and say,
She may not understand everything, but she probably gets
She used to laugh at him so much because he would be like, so-and-so wants us to come look at this job, and they want me to do it, and she's like, you're the best, aren't you? You just think you're the best. And he's like, well, they specifically asked for me. Yeah, they specifically asked for me. So, but no, we explained it to them, and they got it, and they understand now, which is great. And they're actually, we're giving them things to try out, and they've been pretty.
Are they thriving with it?
They're pretty supportive of it. They're, like, hey, we need to record these jobs and their cost, and not only, and I try to tell them, like, hey, it's not because I'm trying to, it's cost in the fact of when I want to make my life easier, your life easier. So if we nail down everything on this job and I go do the same job in 3 months from now, I can cut my time in half.
Yep.
Because 3 months from now, there's going to be some things that I need to tweak, but I don't have to go back and spend 2, 3, 4, 5 days, whatever it is, rebidding that entire job. I'm going to pull that job. I'm going to compare it with this one I'm looking at, and we're going to go through it, and we're going to run some numbers and see if it works on this one. And all that information you got me is the reason I can do that.
Yeah.
And then those numbers, we're going to know how profitable we were on that job. And then, we've talked about structuring some different ways and doing, giving more incentive to our guys and stuff. So I've approached it, well, hey, the more we track, the more we know what we're doing, the better off it is for y'all. It's better for me. I know what we make or what we lose. And then when it comes to incentives, I know what I can give. I know what we can do. And
you're just trying to learn the logistics of everything.
Yeah. We're trying to take it to where everybody has to do less, and we're more profitable. We're continuing, We're continuing to grab jobs, and, we can pump out bidding more jobs because we have that data.
Yeah.
Without data, you're spinning your wheels. You're doing why would you bid? I can't tell you how many subdivisions or house pad. You know, we go in and do 4 or 5 house pads, or we just finished up 10 the other day, 10 in a row. Okay, I've done house pads in the same condition in the same subdivision. You know, we just do it in different phases, and we didn't record them any of those times. Had I recorded them, I probably could have just tweaked them a little bit. And when the guy asked me, "Hey, I got 10 more. What do you want? You know, can you do these?" And I'm like, "Well, let me go out there and make sure." And
add 1,000 just to make sure.
Yeah, I'm like,
whatever.
You know, I could have just pulled a report, ran by there, make sure there was no major nothing. Boom, here it is. Let's do it for the same thing. Let's roll on. Let's knock out 10 more.
Yeah, because the faster you knock them out, the more money you make.
Yeah,
I mean,
and it's really going to matter when we get into these mid-sized commercial jobs.
Yeah, 100%.
It's really going to matter. And back to it, you know, it's like, you know, I'm doing a lot of this myself now.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the dying breed is not there to, you know,
help along,
for me to bounce it back off of or anything like that. So, and you're not seeing that different perspective or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, okay. So okay. And your team,
did we get off topic?
No.
About what we look for?
Not at all. No, I think all this stuff is good. So your team is growing. By the way, guys, I sent out a LinkedIn. I'll say this again at the end of the podcast probably, but I sent out a LinkedIn post, and like maybe one person saw it, so I'm going to do it again. But Eddie's Backhoe and Dozer Service is hiring.
I was probably the one person that saw it.
Probably.
Probably even liked it. It's probably the only person that liked it.
Yeah, probably.
They're like, who are these guys?
Yeah, who's this Forrest?
Who wants to live in Tyler?
Right.
Actually, Tyler's growing.
It is. It's actually, to be honest, that's where we want land. Me and my wife, we want land out there.
It's pretty.
Because it's gorgeous, man. I'm from Florida, okay, and if you're from Florida, okay, if you're from the redneck part of Florida.
I was about to say,
okay.
what part are we talking about? Because Florida's got like one culture here and another one way over here. It's kind of like New York, where we just come from. It's either this
it's
or
like
this.
Asian or Jewish culture or this, you know, like.
Yeah, Florida's like super redneck or like super beachy.
Yeah. I mean, like, so redneck part of Florida, the environment, like the physical geographic environment, looks identical to East Texas. And like, so East Texas is like my home. Like, I love East Texas. We want to move out there bad. So if you're in a company that you're not happy with, or that you want to change, or maybe you're brand new to this and you've looked at this for a while and you said, "Hey, I really, this is our sponsor. This will be our sponsor post." If you're one of those people that's like, "Man, I want to like start a career in a company that's fresh, family owned," Eddie's Backhoe and Dozer Service. Yeah. Looking for a project engineer to come on and help out with a bunch of stuff. So, and it gives the opportunity to learn in an industry that really is never going to end. Yeah. You will always succeed in this industry, but also you're going to be part of a family-owned company and part of the ground up part of it.
It's ground up, and it's a young team too.
Yeah.
I mean, our guys are young. Like I said, I'm 27. I mean, I've got one guy that's in his 50s. The rest of them are in their 30s. Everybody else is like early 30s to late 30s. I mean, it's a young group.
But if you want to get into like a management position,
oh, that's what I'm saying. It's not, you know, we're young, so I mean, we're looking for someone to come in and help. You know, I've got some things that I want to work on in the business that just can't get done. Yeah, due to, you know, doing the engineering, estimating, costing, scheduling side of things, you know.
Material procurement, you know, just gathering everything that superintendents needs. And
everything that my guys in the field would need, you know, and to run a project smoothly is pretty much what you need. Yeah, what we need and what I need to help.
If you want to look at it like a job description, if you listen to this and you're like, "Hey, I want to look at a job description," go to skyhigheagleeye.com/careers. Boom. Right there under Earthworks, you'll see Eddie's Backhoe and Dozer Service Project Engineer. Yep. We uploaded that last night. We were like, "Hey, you guys really need this." They've been like, "Hey, we haven't been able to find anybody." Boom. Yeah. Put it up on a Sky High Eagle Eye's career page. We've got postings for every single career out in construction. So go look at that. If you guys are out in the East Texas area, great family-owned company. But remember that when you go there, don't act like, you know, a greenhorn. Learn everything you can. Bust your butt. Be a hard worker.
Yeah, that's our biggest thing is, like, it's not that...
Well, wait, hold on. Let me stop you. This will lead us into the next question I have, which is, what are some characteristics that you guys look at in new people, fresh people, green guys in the industry that you really need more above anything else?
Well, we want different perspectives and people that can learn and that we can learn from, I mean, we're not always correct, Yeah. So I guess some of the thing is, as far as, I guess if someone new was coming in is what you're asking, like a someone that doesn't know much, I guess.
So like if we've already talked about the bad parts of, the last of a dying breed, but what are some like characteristics that somebody young coming into the industry should show?
Man, I think the main thing is drive, like passionate drive. Be passionate if you're going to come. If you want to be in the construction side of like the things that we're doing, that needs to be what you want to do.
Like take initiative.
You need to take initiative, listen, learn, just soak up as much as you can, and feel free to give your opinion. I am always open for an opinion. I may not always agree with you.
Well, but here's the thing: is like so many companies have bred younger folk to like just shut up and take it.
See, and that's not me because I'm still young. I'm still learning. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And we talked about it the other night. Is we were like, look, like you need somebody.
I've learned to shut up.
Yeah,
but
I mean, you.
I like it when people talk to me because I like to listen.
Give ideas. Is like if I'm hiring somebody, I want you to come and bring ideas to me.
And I've said it 100 times. I bounce ideas off the wall every day.
Yeah,
I like it when people talk to me.
Well,
I like it when my guys come in and say, or like this while we've been in New York. I pretty much this guy's taking care of this while I'm gone. This guy's taking care of this, and this guy's taking care of this. Y'all figure it out. I want to see what it is when I come back.
Take initiative.
Let's see what it looks like for 3 days while I'm gone. You know what I mean? Hey, and I have not breathed down their neck or nothing.
Yep.
And I'm going to come back, and I've talked to them, and everything's fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So all you got to do, and people aren't incapable.
No.
As long as you got a little bit of drive, you got a little bit of sense, and you watch people long enough, and you ask questions long enough, and then go try it. I'm fine with people trying things on my dime or my watch.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. If you mess up and it's not right, let's figure out how to make it right and let's learn from it. I'm not saying go make a big mistake.
Yeah,
I don't want that. But I do want people. I had to fail before I learned some stuff.
Look, if you're not failing, you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
That's the reality. If you're not messing something up, then you're not learning, and then you're not taking the initiative. So you're not doing it right if you're not at least screwing up a little bit.
Yeah, and like I said, we're
don't go swamp like a 260 or
Shut up. 240.
240. That's what I'm.
240.
What was the Volvo?
250 Volvo.
250. My bad.
Oh yeah, we did sync that one too.
So let's dive into this, Brian. Did you see the photos? There's never a better time to admit.
I don't know about all that. As long as my insurance company doesn't listen to this. I'm just kidding.
Remember, there's only 2 listeners, and both of them are your insurance agents.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a pretty costly mistake.
Never mind. We won't dive into it.
Everybody. We don't have to dive into it. Let's just say a 240 and a 250 were out of sight due to clearing a lake.
Yep, and it was soggy. So anybody that's
wasn't water though. Wasn't water.
Anybody that's running equipment knows what you're talking about.
They're both great.
Everybody knows what you're talking about. It's okay.
Yeah, everybody's done it, right?
Yeah, most people have.
I just did it, 2 months after having the rains.
Yeah, exactly. We had a lot of rain that week too, man.
Yeah.
It looked like it was a mess.
It actually rained the day before.
Oh yeah, swamped it out.
Yeah, so it rained, and then we were on mats.
So if you come into the company, don't do that.
Yeah, we were on mats, and the mats were no good. Hit a pocket. Pocket kind of just sucked it down in the ground.
Yep. Yep.
So, but it happens.
Brian, did you see the photos?
I did not see these photos.
Oh, you've got to send them the photos.
Too bad we don't have like a big screen up there.
Well,
no, let's not do that.
We'll get it on the video.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's all right.
Well,
okay. So
good learning curve though, and I have new mats.
Hey, look, everything's like I said. So
it cost me a lot of money to get new mats. But
I was talking to you. Yeah, I was talking to you. I was like, okay,
you're gonna have that if you're doing lake jobs though.
Yeah. Well, I was like, look, you paid for the experience, really. Your dad made that mistake a long time ago, probably.
Oh,
I'm sure he's done that plenty of times.
He buried up a 6 and an 8 one time.
There you go. So, I mean, look, these are just things. These are things that you're learning.
I haven't
now.
done it. I haven't done any. Well, to my defense, I wasn't driving. Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, I could have had some better mats out there, but I thought those mats would work. You know.
Yeah.
And
This is where a project engineer would help.
And number three, he did it a few times over his career, so therefore I was just hurrying up and getting mine out of the way.
Yeah.
Well, I
Right
guess
now, dude,
whatever,
the first
the
one-
one on my watch, I was getting it out of my way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I wanted to know how to get them out if they get stuck, which I advise, just come ask me. Don't go do it. It will take 2 track hose, a D51, and a 70-ton wrecker to get it out.
Yeah. at least, at minimum.
At least.
minimum. Yeah. No, it was fun.
And it really wasn't that it was just like, it wasn't water or anything. It was just
Soggy.
soggy mud.
Yep.
And it just,
Oh, come on. I saw glimmers. I saw glimmers in that photo you sent me of water.
no.
There was water. There was standing water. Don't lie to me.
No, there wasn't. I mean, in the cab a little bit.
And then, if there was water in the cab, there was water in the site. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, there was it was in the floorboard. But hey, look, the counterweight was out, which means turbo and intake was out.
Yeah.
They're running fine. They're cleaned up. No more mud on them. They're fine.
Yeah. Well, hey,
We're
that's
ready to
what
roll
matters.
again.
Okay, so let's conclude this a little bit. We've talked about a lot of stuff, and some of it has been last of a dying breed related. Some of it hasn't. Some of it just kind of ties in. I think more of this.
I ramble.
Well, no, I think all this is important information to the last of a dying breed, because when we think, okay, last of a dying breed, what we really think of is we've got these guys that have been in the industry for 25, 30 years, right? Yeah. And their knowledge is shortly running up, or their knowledge is there in their own mind, but it's not given to anybody, right? And those guys are retiring real soon.
And they're
gonna
there's not things aren't running like
they used
we
to.
said. They're just sites are different. Sites are more
so
aggressive.
When back in the day,
Things weren't on timelines like they are now either.
Well, I mean, in a way, but like when we look at like a last of a dying breed, we just look at like hunker down, man up, put your boots on, let's get to work.
Show up
and do it, right? And now when we think of like the workforce in the industry, we think of like a lot of whiners, a lot of, and millennials get a bad rap a lot of times. There's a lot of hardworking, millennials out there that are ready and
there
hungry.
is. They're doing it smarter.
Well, but and not only
That's kind of like
but
that's kind of like what we're doing as a company. We've done it like that for so long.
yeah.
Now I want to take it and try to perfect it better. We're just doing it like we're doing the same jobs.
Yeah.
We're just doing it smarter.
Well, and I mean, not only smarter, but I feel like mentality has been different. We've been bred different than the Boomer Nation and all that kind of stuff. Where really what we want is something to live by, not just to provide. We're always going to provide for our family no matter what happens. But we want something that we can call when we turn 70, 75, 80, and we look back at our life. Did we just do construction all? And I'll tell you experience. Did we just do construction all our life, or did we make a difference in somebody else's life through the construction that we've done? And I had a worker. I was in Florida, and we were siding, decking the side of a 4-story commercial building, and our boss was too cheap to get a lift, so we were out there in sand, really, really soft sand on extension ladders, like 40-foot extension ladders, and we had to climb. He was on one extension ladder, I was on another extension ladder, and we would have to climb with this 9-foot piece of sheetrock, who knows how much it weighed, up the ladder, and then hang it and nail it in, right? And he looks over at me and he goes, look, if I fell right now and broke my neck, what would I have died for? I would have died to hang a piece of sheetrock, or a piece of plywood. I mean, like that's nothing. Like I didn't go out and save a baby. I didn't, I didn't go out and do something special, right? Like, Like
and that's the thing is like I think a lot of people think they have to own the company to go make a difference.
Okay, so let's dive into that.
You don't.
Let's
trust
dive
me,
into that.
You don't want to.
That's one of my most important things that I try to get across to people is that like you can be the very lowest on the totem pole and make the biggest difference in a company just by the attitude and the ideals that come out of your mouth and the humility and the hard work and the drive for change. That's huge. You can always make a difference.
Yeah, I know guys that make really good money every year, and they work for someone, and they make change. They have a say so, and when they go home, they're stress free.
Yeah,
they're stress free. When I go home, it's still there.
Yep. Well, we were talking about this last night. Is that like we were waking up at 2:30, but we were working at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, I mean, you're not. You don't have to own the company to make a difference or succeed in life.
Yeah.
You can go make a lot of money and work for someone and make a difference and have a say so and have a purpose. The owners are just taking all the
you don't want that job.
And another thing is people think that, like we were talking about, people think you're just making bukus of money because you're growing. When you're growing, you're not making crap.
Yeah, it's all going back to the business.
It's going back to the business. It's going back into the people. It's
$400,000 for a piece of equipment. You're not making crap.
No, you're
Bring
not.
home enough money to pay your bills.
No, and fuel. I mean, a lot of people see what company owners spend, and they're getting new equipment, and they're hiring people. They're doing all this stuff. Oh, they're making a killing. It's like, no, dude. You probably make more money than me working for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which, growing, my people make more than me.
Well, no, honestly,
because
we were
I
talking
don't
about
make
that. Same
anything.
here.
Yeah, I don't make anything. I make enough to pay my house note and my water and electric. Yep. The rest of it is we're growing.
So my wife, my wife's got her own job too. She goes out and pays for the groceries. I mean, I don't even pay for the
yeah.
And that sounds crappy,
that's the thing is you can't when you're growing and scaling a business, and when you're, I mean,
it's just how things go. I mean, look, I pay enough to pay payroll and equipment and rental costs, travel costs, client, miscellaneous things for the client, and then just enough to make rent.
Yeah.
And then 100% what's left goes back into the business.
Yeah.
Like we're about to drop thousands. I mean, like thousands on new like video equipment and photography equipment, and maybe hire a couple more people, and then get benefits and all this kind of stuff. Like that is money. Like I don't have a dime in my
That's
savings.
another thing. You don't people don't, I promise, don't want to have to deal with that. Like you're talking about benefits. Like we're going through insurance, and how do we get more benefits? Insurances, 401k stuff. Incentive for our guys. Trust me, that is not something you want to have to deal with.
Some people want security, and when you're a business owner, that's the last thing you have is security.
Well, correct, but what I'm saying is that's not, we're not making anything off that. That's just money that's going into the company, and you've got to find your way to budget that and whatnot, and we budget our jobs, we budget our office like we do our jobs and stuff. We create budgets and all that because we do want to have those things for our employees, and their families.
Yep.
But that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of things that people don't see that
behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, it's
well, and I think that's part of I think that's part of the topic of last of a dying breed is there's a lot of people that were in the breed before us that just wanted to support their family, like we talked about before, wanted to do good, support the family, get retirement, boom, done. All right. And now that's dying off. Mm-hmm. If you're a company and you want your company to succeed, you want to drive culture in your company, then you have to have a purpose to drive your people. Yeah. And Brian, talk about this a bit, man. Like, I think everybody in our company probably did it because we've got like a solid purpose. Not just like we're not just taking videos and photos out there. We're like, we're not just building websites.
Value.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I can attest personally to that because I know in the last podcast we kind of talked about my background a little bit and how I got to this point. And how I got to this point was because I wanted to personally give people that experience that I did. And I was like, okay, that's something I can do. What skills do I have in order to accomplish that? Well, I worked on video for a long time. Is that something I can use to tell stories to people, tell the lives of these people who work in these industries to get people more like me or get people who are already in these things who are looking for something else, and tell these type of stories to people who can like find them and be like, okay, I want to live that. I want to be there. I want to be in that person's shoes. I want to see this story for myself.
Yeah.
And maybe at some point, maybe they can tell their own story, and pass it along forward. And I found myself in that position. And that's when I met Forrest, and this company had that drive to do the exact same thing. And I was like, wow, okay.
Well, and something that I didn't really realize is like on the last podcast, which is actually episode 7 or 8, one of the two. Anyway, it was going to be a mini podcast. It ended up being a full-size podcast. So it's actually a later podcast than this. But one thing that we talked about, and that is like, okay, like where you came from in your area, LA area, like were the trades pushed at all?
Not a single person that I can list names, and not a single one of them ever even knew like trades would even exist. Like
they didn't know how the road was built. They didn't know how their
elementary, not through middle, not through high school, definitely not through college. Nothing was talked about trade school. Nothing.
So you got to think, okay, that's got to contribute a little bit to, and I don't know about you, but like in my small town where I grew up, it was either you went into the military or you went into construction. And one of the two, man, like you either stayed in the town and went to McDonald's or something like that, or men did construction or military. Boom, done.
Ours is, oil and gas or construction.
Yep. And so like when you think of like a small town, like we didn't really, most of our teachers didn't even put college as an option. Think about that. Like coming from like your city spot, college was all that it was offered.
Yeah, and that was the thing. College was the only option. That was the whole ideal. Like there was never any other option for that. And I've always hated that idea. It's like you have to, bust your butt in school, with all these things plastered around. It's like, oh, GPA's forever and pain is like temporary. And it's just like, it's such a dumb idea. Like you're just pushing all these kids to just like completely be miserable throughout these years of their life just to get a college degree and selling this idea that they're going to be happy after that.
And half of them are miserable not using it.
Exactly.
And then they're out on the streets wondering why they're broke looking for a job.
Well,
not saying that college has its purpose.
Yeah, for those who want to do it, but I mean, if you're one of those kids that's going in a city like LA and you go, man, shoot, book knowledge really isn't what I really care about, and you want to do a trade, but you don't know that that's even an option. Yeah. I mean, at least open that option to them. Like, I mean, there's plenty of people like you and I who sat in classrooms and said, I can't do this forever, man. I've got to be out in the field. I've got to be doing something with my hands. I've got to be learning something physical.
And that's the thing is like, I got my business knowledge and, I got my drive to understand business and money and stuff, which I still have a lot to learn about, but I got my drive and stuff through working in the field.
Working hard.
Hard in the field, though, but I didn't go to college for finance. I didn't go to college for business.
Yeah.
I went and got a job and was working and just surrounded myself with people. And so, I mean, college is good, yes, but you don't always have to go to figure it out. You know what I mean?
Just to make it an option available that you don't have to do this. That would just make everything so much better about for everyone.
But I feel like here is pretty. I mean, college is offered here, but so is the trade schools, or so is just going straight to work.
Maybe out in Tyler, but I don't know about Dallas City.
What do you
Dallas?
mean? Like, they're not offering college here?
I mean, I don't even think they give trade programs in high school like they used to, like shop class and draft. Like I did a drafting class freshman year of high school that kicked me off into construction.
Well, like your smaller colleges, I think, you're obviously, I mean, like back home, like where I went, Panola, there was, like petroleum technology. That was not, I mean, that's just a associate's degree or like it's like more of a trade than anything. But like I don't remember high school.
Okay, but wait. Even in college, like I remember, and I've probably said this story on the podcast before, but when I was in college, I was working construction full time, and I finally was like, okay, I know what I want to do. I want to go in for my construction management degree. Okay, so let's walk into the guidance counselor and tell him, hey, I've decided I want to go for this degree. And I told him, and he goes, well, why do you want to do that? And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, why do you want to do that? I'm like, well, because I work construction, and that's what I want to do. Like, I've grown passionate about it, and it makes sense. Like, that's the degree. Like, if I'm going for a degree, I might as well do construction management. And he goes, well, look, like, go over there and look at the program, but, like, we're not going to be able to teach you as much as what you're going to learn out in the field.
Yeah.
So just drop out of college, and he's like, you're already working full time? And I'm like, yeah, I'm working full time and going to school. And he goes, why are you going to school? And I was like, because I need to get a degree. And he's like, the hell you do? He's like, go work full time and learn as much as you can. And so I go, do you not want me to spend money at the school? He goes, no, I don't need you to spend money at the school. He goes, you're already doing it. And I'm like, okay. So I dropped out. I walked out that door that day, and I had already looked at the construction management program. They were teaching people like how to build like a mobile home. Like it was like stupid stuff like that you would never actually use. Like how do you read a tape measure, and how do you look at plans? Like you're going to learn that on the first couple of days on a job site.
Yeah.
That's not going to be something that's,
but I feel
you don't have to pay $50,000 to get a college degree to go learn that crap.
Yeah, but I also feel like there was a point that it's not here anymore, but there was a point in life that you couldn't go get a good job without a degree almost. You know what I mean? Like,
well, okay, so that's what I call is the workforce gap that we have in construction, because there were people like your dad and my dad that were old enough to have gone to school with parents that really drove the trades. And then they went to school, and then they had kids, and then their kids were driven to go get a degree. My parents didn't discuss anything other than a degree over my entire life. Oh, you need to get
didn't have one. So
I know, but did they push you to go get a college degree?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
That's the reason, is because there's a generation that said, okay, our parents had their parents working their butt off, and they saw how much pain that brought into the life, right? Because it was old style industrial age, right? And then they had us, or they went to school and changed the mentality, or your parents didn't, but like most parents were like, okay, if I can't get my kids to go to college, then they're gonna be in the same career that I'm at, and I'm not doing good in this career. Go get a degree. And then they pushed it so hard that like so many people went and got a degree and realized how unhappy they were, and that and now in the day that we're in, the trades make more money than the guys with the degree.
Well, and I think, like I said, there's a place for college. I think if you're going to be a lawyer, or you're going to be a doctor,
absolutely,
or you're going to go do something in those. But if you're going to go into construction, oil and gas,
yeah. But when I come build your house,
something like that, like if you're going to get in a trade, just go get a job.
Exactly.
And don't go with it as I'm going to be here forever. Go get a job anywhere.
Here's the thing,
and just see if that's what you like. And if it is, like if you want to be a plumber, go be a plumber for a little bit. Figure it out. I did it during the summers. I mean, wasn't my thing, but I got. Well, think about this. I mean, okay, and I learned a lot.
Depending on geographic location, like northern guys, most like northern cities and stuff like that have the union, and they've got their own certification program. So it's obsolete to even go to a college. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason in doing that, because the union will do it for you. They'll certify you after 5-7 years as whatever in plumbing, electrical.
No one wants to go to the union.
I know. look. I'm saying this as a us in the South. Okay, if people are listening to the podcast and they don't understand, the South has unions, but they have no power. The North, Northeast, and the West,
it's all union.
Have all unions, and those unions hold the power. So like down here, unions just don't even have any power. Like if you're in the union,
they're not competitive either.
Yeah,
that's why they don't, because they can't.
I mean, I don't know about that, because I've known plumbers that have made like double.
Well, it depends on what part of the industry.
But you end up paying union dues. You end up getting like you're not allowed to go and find a job. If you're out of work, you're out of work. They find a job for there's lots of complaints about that stuff. But what I'm getting to is that like depending on your area, school might make a difference, school might not make a difference. But like if you're in an area with the union will certify you, and the schools really, a contractor's not going to look at the school that you went to. The contractor's going to look at, okay, you got trained by a union.
Yeah, but if you're going into a construction company, the other construction company is going to look at your experience,
exactly,
not your certification.
And that's what I'm talking about. It's like schooling in like certain areas doesn't matter.
Yeah,
if this is your passion.
But where he was, I mean,
well, and that's the thing, is he was never given the option.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like, at least provide the option, because there were so many people that I knew that were going to school for like literally no reason. Like they didn't know what they wanted to do. They didn't even know what they wanted to do. They just knew their parents had get a degree and that's where they were going. Like they didn't even have any options, and they were over here.
Like, what was the thing? What was y'all's? I mean, like here, like we said. I mean, it was Florida where it was construction or go to the Army. For us, it was and still is oil and gas or construction. Like what? Yeah, you go get a degree, but what was the thing that everybody went for?
Just get a degree.
in anything.
Just
Really?
get a degree.
Go get an accountant.
But
go
like,
get a
what was
business
the
degree.
town like? I mean, obviously you were in a town of like, was the main thing being a lawyer, or was the main thing being a doctor, or a nurse,
you'd
or
hear-
an
you'd hear-
IT guy?
You'd hear everything. You'd hear engineer. You'd hear nurse. You'd hear people getting degrees in things I never even knew provided degrees in. Like the whole concept was just go get a degree, go to college, go to
Liberal
a good
arts,
school.
man.
Yeah,
Go get liberal arts degree.
The whole thing was just go to a good school. Doesn't matter what you go there for.
Because
just go
then
to a
you're
good
going to
school.
meet people and
Just
get a
because like
degree.
Let me
you're going
explain
to be able
something.
to say that I graduated from Berkeley with a degree, but then it's just like
But with no
okay,
job.
With no job, what's your experience? Zero.
Yeah.
You know, and these kids are busting their butt for like wasting all these good years of life
And money.
especially money, and they're just like they never even had this other option to look at things. You know, like what if I like okay, yeah, I could get a degree because that should definitely be an option. People should push that. Okay, this is a path for people to take, but there's this whole other area of things that people can go and do in that you might find more success in and be way happier.
Well,
in,
and-
but
and-
they never even brought it
So,
up.
Oh,
let me ask this: how'd you get out?
That was what I was going to have to
That's how
explain.
my
yeah.
podcast was. So the way I got out was that I kind of just saw like so it was just to my eyes it was just so fake. You know, everything was just so like I felt like it wasn't even real. It was just going by, and I was just doing whatever I'm doing. I was just going to get a degree just because I was going to go.
Because you were told to. Life is life. Whatever, I'm going to go live
Yeah,
it.
I mean, I signed up to my college, UC Irvine, just because my brother went there. Like, that's the only reason why I went there. That's literally the only reason why I went. And I had no idea what I was doing. And then all of a sudden, I know one of my buddies from church always been pushing. It's like, oh, you know, people in Alaska need help fishing. And I was just like, what is that? Like, what is that? I never
What's
even,
fishing?
Like, food comes from somewhere else in the grocery store? Like, that was, like, the whole thing. Like,
That's crazy.
I had no idea that, you know, grocery stores don't buy they don't, like, you know, have their own swimming pool in the back to fish out this fish. You know? I was just like, what? So then one day, I was just like, I accidentally quit my RA job. It was a funny story about that, but I accidentally quit, and I was just like, I'm going to go fishing. And I just packed up everything, next ticket, got it to Alaska, and got to go fishing. And I walked in there, and it was the biggest culture shock ever. It was just like, whoa, like this is a
Lonely.
whole new world out here. You know,
A whole new
exactly.
world.
But the most important thing about
That's
that
my
experience
karaoke for the day.
was like
Don't
it was
try it.
real.
I'm not a vocalist.
You know?
Okay.
This guy, Aladdin,
Aladdin.
my favorite movie.
Yeah.
But the experience was just so real to me, and that was, I guess, like the theme of the last podcast.
Yeah.
It was so
Yeah, so I mean,
real.
if you guys are listening to this one, this is actually episode 5 because we haven't.
That's true.
Because remember, we deleted the old podcast
Yeah,
and we're redoing this one, right? So if you haven't listened to episode, I believe it's 8 with Brian Diaz, go listen to that one too, and you'll kind of get more of the backstory. But like this is tying into it.
But that's good. You know, we're talking about, you know, but I mean, so like, what did your parents do? I guess is it the same concept like the last of dying breed? You know, we're having this. Is there that like, are people starting to get out of that kind of like?
Well, my parents were. I mean, my dad was like grew up doing. Well, he didn't grow up doing it, but he kind of just found himself doing it after. Once he moved to California, he went into like the automobile work. So like insurance company first, like a farmers, and then kind of went out to the other side of like auto body repair, and then he just kind of stuck in there and just been there all his life, right? And then that's pretty much it. Then I mean, my mom didn't even graduate high school. My dad doesn't have a college degree, but the whole thing was just go get a degree.
Yeah.
Go get a degree.
And that makes sense because they never had the opportunity, or
So they thought
or didn't take the opportunity, or didn't have it, or whatever, you know. So they wanted.
Well, my dad, he went and got his degree, and he's very successful. I think if we were to ask people in his industry, he's probably one of the top 5 or 10 that can be hired in his industry. Like, and I'm not joking. Like, legitimately, like he's one of the most seeked out guys for like managing high IT projects on like massive companies.
Yeah,
I mean he's worked for like Samsung and Toyota and like, you know, all sorts of different like Blue Cross Blue Shield, like major companies that solve major problems. And that's where he gets it, is like, I went and had a degree, like my whole family didn't do it, and I went out and did it, and I'm successful at it, right? And
it was his niche.
For that, yeah. And at the time, IT consulting was a huge thing. Like being in IT was like important. It was new. It was like a breaking industry that had just started, you know. And he got in it early enough and got the degree early enough where like he's now one of the most valued, senior guys in the industry. But then you look like we had him. I was down visiting him in Florida, and he ended up doing the pod. He was on the podcast with me and Gary James, but he was in the corner. Like he didn't have a mic. He didn't want to have a mic. And I mean, we were talking about the same thing as like training and like young people versus old people and stuff like that. And I mean, he knows like having a degree in the era that we're in right now is not all it capped out.
It's too. My thing is there's too much information out there to really even just on a lot of things. Like there's podcasts, there's audiobooks, there's books, there's all your social media platforms now that are out there. I mean, you can scroll.
You're getting to where I'm going.
You can scroll on Instagram. I can't tell you how many different things I've picked up on or learned from an audiobook or a podcast or scrolling through freaking Instagram, and I learned something.
Yeah.
And I went and implemented it, and it worked.
Well, because why, right? Because so look at this. Our parents. You said he had pagers still on his office desk.
And that was him. Like, he didn't have all the social media platforms.
Everything we have nowadays is digital.
Yeah.
And that's what we try to get across to our clientele is that everything you're not going to put up a billboard. Okay, if you're in a local area, maybe you'll put up a billboard. Whatever. You're not going to be doing banner ads on Instagram or on websites anymore. You're not going to be doing certain different advertisements that you might have done. You're not going to put an ad in the paper. Okay, everything is digital. It's not paper anymore. So you're going to need to work towards that, which means that it's actually easier to make money without a degree now because people can be a digital expert without actually having a degree, and they can be an industry expert without having a degree because they have like firsthand experience in it. And the experience is what when somebody goes to apply for a new job, the first thing the company's going to ask is, do you have any experience in this? Mm-hmm. I mean, if you just got out of college with a degree,
you don't have
any experience with it. So again, we're not trying to discard degrees in total. Like
it depends on what you want to do.
Yeah, it depends.
If you're
going to construction. Yeah, construction or like any kind of blue collar trade.
I mean, really, I can't think of one thing in construction that you couldn't learn.
Nope.
With that, I mean, I can't think of one thing.
Now, here's the argument.
Unless you're going to go be a nurse at a construction company, I mean, you kind of got to have your certificate.
Yeah, but here's the argument to that is like I do know people that have gone, and maybe I'll get this guy on the podcast. He's actually one of my friends' friends, and other people, not just him, but like that had gone and gotten a construction management degree and like swear by it. They're like, look, I would have never been able to land this company. I would have never been able to have this experience that I'm getting now if I hadn't had a degree. So like, it depends on what you want to do. But in my personal case, I dropped out of high school. I dropped out of college. I don't have either. I don't have a GED. I don't have a college education. I don't have a high school diploma. I have no formal education document. But I went in and I learned construction, and I managed $200 million projects, like, while the project manager was sleeping. Like, I mean, that's just how, that's how life works. So, I mean, you if you really want it, you can push to get it. And that's the thing, the dying breed off that most of the people in the breed now is.
Well, and it's hard
in different ways.
We're saying it's hard for, it's kind of hard for this generation to get, like, what y'all are trying to do.
Yeah,
is hard to understand because it is new. It is. I mean,
are you talking about like at our company?
Yeah, just everything that y'all are trying to do and y'all's mission and everything. It's our generation before us, and like my dad and them, they didn't have all that, so therefore, it wasn't normal.
Well, and when we talked the first time,
people that do it, it's like, holy shit.
Well, remember when we first
this
talked,
actually looks cool, and this is like it. People like
matters, right?
People like are interacting with us, and like we're showing off what we're doing, and they like what we're doing.
Yeah,
and you attract better people.
We look at it like this: like if you can get a GPS and do the job in half the time, then you're gonna be able to use our service and attract the right people and exclude the wrong people way more efficiently, right?
Yeah,
clients, employees, whatever it is, we're problem solving company. We're going to solve your problems. And I've got clients that are like Forrest, it's not that easy. You can't just solve my problems. And I'm like, okay, try me. Tell me what your problems are, and I'll solve them. And we do. And then they're surprised that,
you haven't solved mine yet, but
we just started, okay? We just and that's what this entire last couple days has been. But like
we've talked about them. I mean,
but this is
but
the
I
point,
will say
right?
this, that you are helping me with these implementations of softwares and data.
I mean, we're having
crazy conversations about tackling those things now. You know, we're getting away from the spreadsheets.
Yeah,
the spreadsheets are.
Well, I mean, and coming
hopefully
up
a thing of the freaking past. If I had never seen a spreadsheet again,
you'd be fine.
I'd be okay.
Well, and but like what we talked about last night,
because
right?
I swear to God, I got 10 of them on my desktop.
Yeah,
and it's like a spreadsheet to do this and a spreadsheet to do that. My costing, my scheduling, my data.
And in some cases, spreadsheets are okay. But
but
here's the thing: is like you and I have already talked about this. Is like the consulting portion of what we do and the work that we do in helping build a process, helping build like a foundation for the company to go from now. Like your dad had a legacy, he lived it out. Your legacy has started just now. So you have a 20-year-old business that's brand new, and it's starting now, and it's your legacy.
Yeah.
And you're carrying on what your dad's legacy was. And that's pretty special. So how do we make that most worth it?
And we're having to implement these things now because, like I said, he didn't care to be that company. And there's companies out there that figured that out a long time ago that have been around just as long as us or longer, and they've already implemented those kind of things, and now they're perfecting them even better.
So overall,
but now we're doing them. So it's just, it's not that it hasn't been around, or people, the dying breed didn't do it. It's just
it's hard to get that handle on.
20 years ago, people weren't thinking about it like we are now. Number one, and number two, people are, it's a little easier now.
Well, okay, so when we get a call from a client, like a brand new partnership that wants to start on with us, most of the time it's not from like the shareholder or like the major owner. Like there might be like a VP or like a president that calls us, right? And he's a little younger or something like that. But overall, it's not like his last decision, right? It's somebody else in the company that's had it for longer. He's been older. And most of the time what they do is they say, hey, look, we see a value in what you've done and what you're doing, but we've got to convince it to this older generation. And that's kind of what you did. Well, when we first started, your dad was still here, and I'm so mad that I didn't come out there and get to meet your team before this.
Yeah, I mean, because I had kind of mentioned some things, and it's like we don't need that shit.
Look, I want to say something. When you first called me, I was over, that office just down the hallway?
Yeah.
I was in that office pacing back and forth talking to you on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember leaving. I remember seeing everything and us talking and me going back, and I was like, man.
I didn't ever think I was going to get a call back from you, to be honest.
I want this. I see the value in it, but how in the hell am I going to convince this old ass to do this? You know what I mean? Because I'm telling you, man, whenever I say he was a hard ass and he was just about the work.
Yeah.
It was about work, and he was a hard ass.
My way or the highway.
I mean, it was like, you don't need that shit. You don't need to do that. I mean, this has been working for 20 years. You don't have to have all that crap. I'm like, no, we don't have to, but it would sure make our life a lot easier.
Yeah.
But you know what? I mean, you got to look at it too as, he's right.
Yep.
He did it. He did it for 20 years.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
I mean,
that's a saying that I've always liked and disliked. I like the saying it's always, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But at the same time, I think like, why not improve it?
Yeah. Well, he did what he wanted to do. Now, I brought in and I told him, hey, I want to come on and do these things, and he told me you can do it, but that's on you. Yeah. He was okay with it. But was it something he cared about? No, it wasn't nothing he really cared about. And now, I have a mission of my own, even more now, to grow this and to implement these kind of things to make sure that I succeed with the new times. Yeah. So that I don't look back and lose everything that he's built over 20 years.
That's the dying breed.
Because I want to look back and say, look, I changed with. He went with his times. I'm going with my times, and I want him to look down and be like, "I knew you were going to do it."
Yep.
You know what I mean?
You showed me up.
And then we get to work, me and you get to work together, and we get to keep going with the times. We learn new things, all that. Keep rolling.
Hell yeah.
So.
Well, we're coming up like literally on 2 hours in just like a couple seconds.
I don't know why we do this every time. I was like dreading the hour. Like, I'm so tired. I'm like, how am I gonna make it through an hour? Here we are, 2 hours.
I'm over here wiggling because I gotta go to the bathroom too. So
yeah.
Anyway, we're gonna cut this podcast. We've been talking for 2 hours. Everybody's probably cut off at like 2 minutes because they just like don't care. But we've got a lot of good information. The topic is last of a dying breed. If this stuff helped you, or at least started up some discussion topics in your company, please share it, like it, comment, give me feedback, all that kind of stuff. Brady, Eddie's Backhoe and Dozer Service, thank you for coming on.
Appreciate it, man.
Muchas gracias. And everybody that's listening, love you guys. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening.